Have you ever felt like maybe you missed out on some part of your childhood? Not because of some big, obvious event, but because you just sort of quietly became the adult in the room? Well, today, we're going to dive into the psychology behind growing up too fast and really understand what's going on beneath the surface.
This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's not about one single dramatic moment. It's this slow, quiet realization that someone has to be the responsible one, and that someone is you. So, let's talk about how this whole quiet adulthood even begins. It usually starts with a very specific psychological process that ends up shaping pretty much everything else. There's a word for it in psychology, parentification. And it's basically when a kid has to step up and become a caretaker, managing really big emotions, their own or someone else's, way before they're actually ready to. So what does that do to a developing brain? Well, what's really incredible is how the brain adapts to survive all that pressure. It learns to just push its own needs down. It learns to be the calm one, the problem solver. It starts to believe that its own feelings just have to come last. And here's the crucial part. This strength isn't a choice, it's a necessity. You become strong because, well, there's no other option. All right, so let's look at how that early adaptation starts to build into these really distinct behaviors, things that can stick with you for a lifetime. The first trait is this deep, almost automatic self-reliance. Psychologists call it survival independence, and it comes from growing up in a place where you just couldn't count on consistent support being there for you. And the long-term effects of this are just huge. You learn to stop asking for help. You learn to stop expecting anyone to comfort you. You just get used to handling everything by yourself. And then, when you're an adult and someone genuinely offers to help, it feels weird. You struggle to trust it because your default setting for your whole life has been, I have to do this myself. Now, all this forced independence, it creates this really profound conflict on the inside, and it leads to something called an unbalanced maturity. So on the outside, you present as this super wise, serious, incredibly responsible person. But on the inside, there's this whole other part of you that never got what it needed. It feels confused, maybe a little guilty, and just emotionally unfulfilled. And that's because there was never a safe time or space to learn how to actually need other people. Of course, taking on all that responsibility so early comes with a pretty heavy price tag, and it shows up as these really deeply ingrained habits and emotional patterns. One of the most common ones is what we call uneasy rest. You ever feel like you just can't stop? Like if you try to relax, it actually feels kind of dangerous? Yeah, there's a reason for that. Think about it. In a chaotic childhood, calm was often just the quiet before the storm. So your nervous system learned to stay on high alert, even when things seemed fine. And as a result, trying to rest can feel unproductive or even unsafe because your entire sense of purpose got wired to being needed and solving the next problem. And this leads right into another really powerful trait, this deep, sometimes overwhelming sense of guilt for having any needs of your own. This right here becomes the core belief. If someone is taking care of me, that means I'm a burden to them. So receiving care doesn't feel comforting, it feels strange, like you're creating a problem for somebody else. So what do? You learn to make your needs as small as possible, and you even apologize for wanting support. And finally, there's a fourth trait. It's almost like a superpower, but one that comes with a very high wall around it. It's called guarded empathy. See, growing up this way makes your emotional antenna incredibly sharp. You get so good at reading people, at sensing the tiniest shift in a mood, at seeing problems before they even happen. But you also learn just how much it can hurt to care that much. So you stay guarded. You protect yourself because you know the emotional price you pay if you get it wrong. So, after hearing all of these pretty heavy traits, it is so easy to feel like something is fundamentally wrong with you. But psychology actually offers a much more compassionate way to look at this. The question you might be asking yourself right now is probably something like this. Am I broken? And the answer, let me be very clear, is no. You are not. These traits, they are not flaws. They are adaptations. Your nervous system did exactly what it needed to do to survive in a high-pressure world. You learned responsibility before you learned what it felt like to be safe. You learned strength long before you were ever allowed to be soft. So the path forward isn't about getting rid of that strength. Healing doesn't mean you have to become weak or needy. It just means understanding that your strength can exist right alongside softness. It means finally, truly, learning that you are allowed to rest. And so we'll leave you at this final thought to just sit with for a little while. After all this time, after everything you've been through, are you still carrying that weight?